Hey there everybody. So this is a little review on a tool that I bought probably a year and a half ago, and I've used it quite a bit. A few projects. It's not something I use every day, but maybe once every month or two I'd say it's gotten used. And anyway, I thought I would just do a quick little review on it and give my experiences and kind of a few of the little things that I've done and what I'm going to do with it to make it work a little better. And it's just give some of my experiences for somebody that may be looking for an inexpensive tube notcher. And so anyway, this is the Central Machinery tube notcher that you can it's available at your local Harbor Freight. And yeah, it's definitely something that's worked out for me pretty well. Would I rather have a $250 or $500 tube notcher? Absolutely I would. But you know, when you have to sell $100 worth of bike parts on eBay to get a tube notcher and some cheesy hole saws, then you know it's definitely doable. So anyway, back to the point. So kind of the basic gist of this. I'll kind of show you some of the things I'm going to do to change it up. But basically, if you're not familiar with it, it's got, you've got your part there where you put your hole saw. This is one that I actually use quite a bit. I don't know, it's got a little pin there, holds that in place where you can lock it down. Probably the downfall on this is that it is just a has a brass bushing there, so there's a little, not a lot, but there's a little wiggle in there, so it's going to cut down somewhat on the precision. But I don't know, from what I've found, it cuts, if you're whatever size you're looking to cut, it does a pretty reasonable job. The one thing, I kind of read some reviews before I bought this, and sure enough, that you have to add some little spacer washers in there. And I added those. You kind of just got to experiment with it, but I basically got it pretty well dead center there. One other little thing you want to do, if you're gonna cut some lighter gauge material, if you were to just tighten this up, it's gonna, the two edges there will really dig into some thin wall metal. So I always just used a piece of angle iron. Okay, so I use a piece of angle iron there. That holds it square, and actually if you extend it out, I'll typically extend it out as far as I can to the hole saw there. And then additionally, you got this that adjusts up and down, so ideally I would probably slide that down to where, when you start your cut, you have minimal gap in between this area right here. And that just minimizes any, flex, so, does a pretty good job. You got a little gauge here, which basically starts at 0, which that would be at 90 degrees, and then I guess you just subtract each degree from, where you're going. Honestly, I always just used a like a little gauge just off the hole saw, and then off the bottom of the the little holder there. And I'm not sure how accurate this is, and honestly I would normally always just put this on my blueprint, get my angle, and then just line it up directly, transfer it to here. And for me that worked really well. So Personally, I would say if that works for you, great. I never used it, so it wasn't really worth anything to me. But just the ability to have something stable. I've used it on semi-thick material, but mostly thin wall stuff. So when I bought this thing, I got it with the. This is the Warrior hole saw, bimetal hole saw kit that, I think bought all this on sale. I think it was like a 25% off, or one of them may have been on sale, and I don't know, I got the whole thing for probably maybe $65 or something, which is, I think these normally go for $35, and that goes for like $50. They're, as far as their normal prices, but Harbor Freight stuff, you always get, if you're patient, you'll get a good coupon, or sometimes they'll have blowout sales on whatever. But this thing's, been pretty decent. I was able to chip the teeth off of this one, and mainly it was just because my piece my work piece wasn't clamped down tight, and then also this worked loose, and it ended up chipping a couple of the teeth off. But I've used this one quite a lot, and the one that's in the fixture there quite a lot, and they're both still really good. But this is the one I used to miter for the, it's a typical bicycle seat tube diameter, 29 millimeters. It's 1.1 inch, so I'll probably just get something, nicer version of something like that. Not a super huge deal. But yeah, this thing's, I would say, either of these, if you're going to be using them commercially, every day, day in and day out, then yeah, you'd probably want to get your, definitely a better one. But for somebody that, first time wanting to get into doing a project like this where you need to notch some tubes, then yeah, it's definitely worth it. So anyway, let's just jump right into the what I'm going to do to kind of modify this thing. And what I'm going to do basically is this piece here is kind of really, I used it on my drill press, but it's pretty useless. I was only able to really attach one. This bolt pattern doesn't really work with my drill press there, but I'll kind of set it up over there, and we'll take a closer look at this and see what I'm going to do here. My main problem was with this drill press, I had to go into the base. There's two slots here, and it would actually work in the the adjustable base here. I could mount it there, but this is a 10-inch drill press, where this is designed to work with, I believe, a 12-inch. So just didn't quite have that extra room to be able to mount it to here. I had to mount it to the bottom, and really just I had one bolt hole that would go down, so it worked out pretty decent. But what I'm going to do is just delete this angle, and I've got a piece of flat stock. I'm just going to cut this and this, weld it directly to there, use that access hole, and then drill another hole, and that's going to flip flat on the bottom there, and it'll also be slightly lower, so that'll give me a little more wiggle room. So right now I'm just going to start cutting this thing up and get it cleaned up and tacked onto here. I don't think I'm going to need to put any huge welds. I've kind of got it marked out, where I'm going to mount it. It's going to be a little bit of an angle, which honestly that seems like it works the best. If you're able to feed, going sideways, it's going to kind of interfere. So this gives you a nice line of vision, but also at the same time it's, gives you plenty of room out this way to, for any angle of tube or whatever the situation there. And I can also pull my drill press out if, absolutely need be. But yeah, that's what we're going to, a little modification we're going to make here. Alright, so I got my holes drilled, and the nuts on there. I think this should work out just right. Position that up as needed. Should be pretty well right on. Yeah, that's definitely more stable than what I had going before. So, and you know, I'll take it off. Should be a pretty quick disconnect. So that should work out really nice. Quick little hack, you know, if somebody's in a similar situation on something like this. But get all this hooked up and just make sure we're all good to go. Alright, so I got the tube notcher set up here in my little drill press, and I had to didn't quite line up right, so I had to end up drilling another hole. So it's working pretty good now, and got a little work piece in there, so we'll fire this thing up and run this through real quick. So I've got it set up to where the guide here is as low as possible to the work piece, and got my piece of angle iron there pretty close too, so that way it gives this, you know, maximum rigidity. I've just got to set it a random angle. I don't know exactly what that's at, so alright. So that was just aluminum, so I didn't put any cutting fluid or anything like that on there, but you know, not a bad little, works pretty good. You know, these cheapo hole saws, they definitely, you know, you could see how that thing was, you know, wobbling around when it was really spinning up. So I think on my next frame build, I'll probably get a little higher. You know, I just need basically 3 sizes are the sizes that I typically use. So I think I'll get 3 of those and hopefully get some a little less wobble on my next cuts on. So yeah, that's going to conclude this. You know, I definitely would recommend this tool to somebody that's, you know, just getting started on a project or isn't going to use this tool too often, maybe a few times a year, but it's definitely served me pretty well. And you know, the little washer trick, and then, you know, piece of angle iron on some thin metal, and then this base, it's more of a permanent base that works with this. You know, if you're using a big drill press or just clamping it in the vise, the original bracket's probably fine, but this is definitely, it's locked in solid to my drill press, so that made a pretty huge difference there. But yeah, that's going to conclude this review, and thanks for watching.